Shattered promises. Sophie Bennett wiped flour from her cheek as she piped delicate rosettes onto the wedding cake. The morning sun streamed through the windows of her Brooklyn bakery, casting golden light across the marble countertops. At 32, she had built sweet whisks from nothing but determination and talent, transforming her passion into a sanctuary for herself and her son. "Mommy, look!" Oliver called from his small table in the corner, proudly holding up a drawing of what appeared to be a dinosaur wearing a chef's hat. "That's beautiful, sweetie," Sophie smiled, her heart swelling with love for her precocious 5-year-old. With his chestnut curls and thoughtful hazel eyes, Oliver was her world, a daily reminder that from life's greatest heartbreaks could come its greatest joys. She glanced at the clock. Her assistant Mia would arrive soon to help with the morning rush, giving Sophie time to drop Oliver at school. Their routine was well established, comfortable, safe. Far from the chaos of 5 years ago, when Ethan Parker had walked out of her life upon hearing news of her pregnancy. The memory still stung, though the sharp pain had dulled to a persistent ache. Ethan, brilliant, charismatic founder of Parker Technologies, had swept into her life like a whirlwind during a catering gig at his company. Their romance burned bright and fast. 6 intoxicating months of Manhattan penthouse views, whispered promises, and a love Sophie believed was unshakable. Until the pregnancy test showed positive. "I can't be a father, Sophie," he'd said, his voice cold and distant as he stared out the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. "My company is going public in 3 months. The timing is impossible." "We can figure this out," she pleaded, reaching for his hand. "Together." He pulled away. "There's no together in this. I'm not ready. I never will be." The next day, his assistant delivered a check with enough zeros to make Sophie's head spin. She'd torn it to pieces and left it on his doorstep. "Sophie! Earth to Sophie!" Mia's voice jolted her back to the present as the young woman bustled through the door, her bright blue hair contrasting with her crisp white uniform. "Sorry, miles away," Sophie murmured, carefully boxing the finished cake. "The Jacobson order is ready for pickup, and you've got that meeting with the Hudson Hotel at 11, Mia reminded her, already tying on her apron. The meeting. Sophie's stomach fluttered with nervous excitement. After years of building her reputation, the prestigious Hudson Hotel was considering sweet whisks for their dessert catering, a contract that could elevate her business to new heights. "Thanks, Mia. I'm dropping Oliver at school, then heading straight there." On the subway, Oliver chatted animatedly about his upcoming class field trip, while Sophie mentally reviewed her presentation. She kissed him goodbye at the school gate, watching as he ran to join his friends, his backpack bouncing against his small frame. The Hudson Hotel lobby gleamed with marble and gold, a temple to luxury. Sophie smoothed her simple black dress, clutching her portfolio as the elevator ascended to the penthouse conference room. Her heart raced, not from nerves about the meeting, but from a strange premonition she couldn't shake. The doors opened. She stepped into a sleek reception area where a polished assistant greeted her. "Miss Bennett, they're ready for you." Sophie followed her toward a double doors that opened into a sunlit conference room. 3 executives sat at the far end of a massive table, their faces turning toward her as she entered. And then she saw him, standing by the window, silhouetted against the Manhattan skyline he loved so much, older now, with subtle silver threading through his dark hair, broader shoulders filling an impeccable suit. The same sharp jawline, the same intense gaze that had once made her feel like the only woman in the world. Ethan Parker. His eyes widened in shock as he recognized her. The portfolio nearly slipped from her suddenly numb fingers. "Sophie," he breathed, the name falling from his lips like a forgotten prayer. The room disappeared around them, 5 years collapsing into nothing. Unexpected reunion. Sophie's hands trembled as she placed her portfolio on the conference table. Of all the hotels in Manhattan, Ethan Parker had to be involved with this one. "You know each other?" asked Valerie, the hotel's elegant owner. "We're acquainted," Sophie managed, her voice steadier than she felt. I refused to meet Ethan's gaze, focusing instead on unpacking her sample photographs and menus. "Miss Bennett comes highly recommended," Valerie continued, unaware of the tension crackling through the room. Ethan remained silent, his presence heavy as gravity. Throughout her presentation, Sophie felt his eyes on her, studying the woman she had become, confident, successful, a far cry from the devastated pastry chef he had abandoned. When she finished, the executives applauded politely. "Remarkable work," Valerie nodded approvingly. "We'll be in touch next week with our decision." As the meeting disbanded, Sophie gathered her materials with trembling fingers. She needed to escape before— "Sophie!" Ethan's voice, low and urgent, stopped her at the door. "Please, 5 minutes." She turned, meeting his eyes for the first time. The years had been kind to him. Success had burnished his handsome features with an assurance that hadn't been there before. Yet something vulnerable flickered beneath his composed exterior. "I have nothing to say to you. I understand, but—" he faltered. "You look well. Your business. I'm impressed." "Don't be. I didn't build it for your approval." He winced at her coldness. "I deserve that, but I've changed, Sophie." A bitter laugh escaped her. "Good for you. I need to pick up my son from school." The word son hit him like a physical blow. "Your son," he echoed softly. "Our son." Sophie stiffened. "My son. You forfeited any claim to him 5 years ago." Before he could respond, she brushed past him into the elevator, heart thundering against her ribs. Only when the doors closed did she allow herself to exhale, eyes burning with unshed tears. The next morning, Sophie was elbow-deep in croissant dough when the bell above the bakery door chimed. She looked up, expecting the usual early customers. Instead, Ethan stood there, uncertainty written on his face. "How'd you find me?" she demanded. "Your website." He approached cautiously, taking in the charming space with its pastel walls and display cases filled with artful confections. "Sweet whisks. It suits you." Sophie wiped her hands on her apron. "What do you want, Ethan?" "To meet him," he dropped, his voice almost reverent. "What's his name?" "Oliver," she answered before she could stop herself. "Oliver," Ethan repeated, testing the name. "Is he—" The back door swung open. Oliver bounded in, followed by Mia. "Mommy, we saw puppies on the way." He skidded to a halt, noticing the stranger. Sophie's heart stopped. Standing side by side, the resemblance was unmistakable. Oliver had Ethan's eyes, the same thoughtful crease between his brows. Ethan stared at his son, transfixed. Something shifted in his expression. Wonder, regret, longing, emotions too complex to name. "Who are you?" Oliver asked with a child's directness. Before Ethan could respond, Sophie intervened. "This is Mr. Parker. He's here about business." "Do you like cookies?" Oliver asked him seriously. "My mom makes the best ones." "I bet she does," Ethan answered, his voice thick with emotion. "And yes, I love cookies." "Me too," Oliver beamed, unaware of the adult's tension. "Oliver, why don't you go help Mia unpack the deliveries?" Sophie instructed. When they were alone again, Ethan's composure had cracked. "He's perfect," he whispered. "Sophie, I had no idea. Seeing him—" "Don't," she raised her hand. "You don't get to walk in here after 5 years and play the emotional father. You made your choice." "I made the wrong choice," he admitted, with rawness in his voice she'd never heard before. "My company went public. I became a billionaire, and I've never been emptier." "That's not my problem." "No, it's not." He pulled out a business card, placing it on the counter. "But I'm staying at the Hudson while overseeing the renovation. If you ever—" He didn't finish the sentence, just turned and walked out, the bell chiming softly behind him. Sophie picked up the card, fingertips tracing the embossed letters of his name. Then, with deliberate movements, she dropped it into the trash. But that night, after Oliver was asleep, she retrieved it, placing it in her bedside drawer. Not out of forgiveness, she told herself, but as a reminder of how far she had come without him.
Building bridges. 3 days later, a courier delivered an envelope to Sweet Whisks. Inside, Sophie found a contract. The Hudson Hotel had selected her bakery as their exclusive dessert provider. A handwritten note accompanied it. "This was unanimous among the board. No interference from me. Congratulations, you earned this. E." Sophie stared at the contract, emotions warring within her. The opportunity was incredible, but accepting meant Ethan would remain in her orbit. Was her business worth the emotional cost? Mia peered over her shoulder. "Is that the Hudson contract? Sophie, this is huge." "It is," Sophie agreed quietly. "Why don't you look happier? This is what you've been working toward." Sophie sighed. "It's complicated. Because of that gorgeous man who came in the other day? The one who looked at you like you hung the moon?" "He didn't," Sophie began, then stopped. "He's Oliver's father." Mia's eyes widened. "The billionaire who left you? The one who—" "Yes, that one." "And now he wants back in your lives?" Sophie folded the contract carefully. "He wants to meet Oliver properly, to be part of his life. And what do you want?" The question hung in the air. What did she want? 5 years of single motherhood, of building herself back from nothing. She'd done it all without Ethan. Yet, seeing him with Oliver, witnessing that instant connection, "I want what's best for my son," she finally answered. The following Saturday, Sophie found herself sitting on a park bench, watching as Ethan pushed Oliver on the swings. Their son's laughter carried across the playground, bright and carefree. Ethan had asked for this meeting, promising to follow her rules. No mentions of being Oliver's father, no lavish gifts, just a chance to know him. "Higher," Oliver demanded, and Ethan obliged, his face alight with joy that mirrored their son's. Sophie's phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Thank you for this." She glanced up to find him watching her, gratitude evident in his expression. Something stirred in her chest, not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps understanding. After the playground, they walked to a nearby ice cream shop. Oliver skipped ahead, his energy boundless. "He's incredible," Ethan said quietly, walking beside Sophie. "Smart, funny. He has your kindness. And your stubborn streak," she replied, surprising herself with a light tone. Ethan smiled, a genuine expression that softened his features. "Sophie, I know I have no right to ask, but I'd like to continue seeing him, on whatever terms you set." She studied him, the man who'd broken her heart, now humbled by love for a child he barely knew. "Why now, Ethan? What changed?" He was silent for a moment. 2 years ago, my father died. His last words to me were about regrets. Opportunities for happiness he'd sacrificed for success. I realized I was becoming him." Ethan's voice grew rough. "Then I saw you again, and Oliver. It was like seeing the road not taken." Before Sophie could respond, Oliver ran back to them, tugging Ethan's hand. "They have chocolate fudge swirl." Later, after Ethan had said goodbye with a promise to call the following week, Oliver looked up at Sophie thoughtfully. "I like Mr. Parker. He knows all about dinosaurs and space." "Does he now?" Sophie smiled, smoothing his curls. "Can he come to my t-ball game next Saturday?" The question shouldn't have surprised her, yet it did. Children formed attachments so quickly, so completely. "Would you like that?" Oliver nodded enthusiastically. He said he used to play baseball too. That night, Sophie sent Ethan a text with the time and location of the game. His response came immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you, Sophie." As she set down her phone, Sophie realized something had shifted. The wall she'd built around her heart, around their life, had developed its first small crack. Whether that was dangerous or healing remained to be seen. Crisis and truth. 3 months passed in a delicate dance of carefully orchestrated meetings and growing trust. Ethan became a fixture at Oliver's t-ball games, at weekend trips to the museum, at pizza nights in Sophie's modest apartment. Always respectful of her boundaries, always leaving before Oliver's bedtime, always asking permission before bringing even the smallest gift. The Hudson Hotel contract transformed Sweet Whisks, bringing a steady stream of high-profile orders that required Sophie to hire 2 more assistants. On late nights, when she worked on special projects for the hotel, Ethan would sometimes sit quietly in her kitchen, reviewing his own work while she baked, their silence comfortable in a way that unsettled her. "Why are you really here, Ethan?" she asked one such night, sliding a tray of eclairs into the oven. He set down his tablet, considering her question. "Because every moment with Oliver, with you, feels more real than anything in my life before." Something in his candor touched her, despite her resolve to keep him at arm's length. The fragile peace shattered on a Tuesday morning when Mia burst through the bakery door, face pale with shock. "Sophie, you need to see this." She thrust her phone forward, displaying a business news article with the headline, "Parker Technologies acquires Hudson Hotel Group in surprise move." Sophie's blood ran cold. "What?" "There's more," Mia said grimly, scrolling down. "Part of the acquisition includes streamlining vendor relationships. They're terminating all existing contracts." The implications hit Sophie like a physical blow. The Hudson contract represented nearly 60% of her business. Losing it would devastate Sweet Whisks. And Ethan had known, must have known, while sitting in her kitchen, playing with her son, rebuilding her trust.
When Ethan arrived at the bakery that afternoon, Sophie was waiting, fury radiating from her slate frame. "Was this your plan all along?" she demanded, throwing the article at him. "Get close to Oliver, then destroy everything I've built?" Confusion crossed his features. "What are you talking about? Don't pretend you didn't know. Your company acquired the Hudson. All vendor contracts are being terminated, including mine." Understanding dawned on his face, followed by horror. "Sophie, I swear I didn't know. The acquisition was handled by my board, while I've been focused on the new software division. Do you expect me to believe that? You're the CEO. A CEO who's been distracted, who's delegated more responsibilities to focus on—" He stopped, running a hand through his hair. "On being here. With Oliver. With you. Get out," she whispered, tears threatening. Instead of leaving, Ethan stepped closer. "Sophie, listen to me. I'll fix this. Like you fixed things 5 years ago?" Her voice broke. "I don't need your money or your pity. I need you gone." "Mom!" Oliver's small voice came from the kitchen doorway. "Why are you yelling at Mr. Parker?" Sophie wiped her eyes hastily. "It's just a grown-up disagreement, sweetheart." Ethan kneeled to Oliver's level. "Your mom is upset with me because of a mistake at my company, but I promise I'm going to fix it. Are you not coming to my school play anymore?" The innocent question pierced Sophie's heart. In just months, Ethan had become important to Oliver, a presence he counted on, looked forward to. "That's up to your mother," Ethan said softly. After Ethan left, Sophie spent the night calculating numbers, calling clients, trying to envision a path forward without the Hudson contract. By morning, she had a plan, difficult but possible, that would keep Sweet Whisks afloat, albeit much reduced. She was reviewing it with Mia when the bakery door opened. Valerie Hudson herself walked in, elegant as ever. "Ms. Bennett," she greeted Sophie warmly, "I believe we have business to discuss.
Building bridges. 3 days later, a courier delivered an envelope to Sweet Whisks. Inside, Sophie found a contract. The Hudson Hotel had selected her bakery as their exclusive dessert provider. A handwritten note accompanied it. "This was unanimous among the board. No interference from me. Congratulations. You earned this. E." Sophie stared at the contract, emotions warring within her. The opportunity was incredible, but accepting meant Ethan would remain in her orbit. Was her business worth the emotional cost? Mia peered over her shoulder. "Is that the Hudson contract? Sophie, this is huge." "It is," Sophie agreed quietly. "Why don't you look happier? This is what you've been working toward." She sighed. "It's complicated. Because of that gorgeous man who came in the other day, the one who looked at you like you hung the moon?" "He didn't," Sophie began, then stopped. "He's Oliver's father." Mia's eyes widened. "The billionaire who left you? The one who—" "Yes, that one. And now he wants back in your lives?" Sophie folded the contract carefully. "He wants to meet Oliver properly, to be part of his life." "And what do you want?" The question hung in the air. What did she want? 5 years of single motherhood, of building herself back from nothing. She'd done it all without Ethan. Yet seeing him with Oliver, witnessing that instant connection, "I want what's best for my son," she finally answered. The following Saturday, Sophie found herself sitting on a park bench watching as Ethan pushed Oliver on the swings. Their son's laughter carried across the playground, bright and carefree. Ethan had asked for this meeting, promising to follow her rules. No mentions of being Oliver's father, no lavish gifts, just a chance to know him. "Higher!" Oliver demanded, and Ethan obliged, his face alight with joy that mirrored their son's. Sophie's phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Thank you for this." She glanced up to find him watching her, gratitude evident in his expression.
Second chances. Spring blossomed across Brooklyn, bringing with it a season of change. Sweet Whisks flourished under the expanded Hudson contract, allowing Sophie to finally hire enough staff to occasionally take weekends off. Oliver completed kindergarten with flying colors, proudly showing Ethan his certificate at a celebration dinner that somehow included them both. The truth of Ethan's identity remained unspoken to Oliver, a mutual decision to move slowly, to build foundations before adding weight to them. But as summer approached, Sophie found herself considering the possibility that had once seemed unthinkable, allowing Ethan to fully enter their lives. It wasn't just Oliver's obvious attachment to him, or the way Ethan had proven himself reliable, patient, present. It was the quiet moments. Ethan helping with dishes after dinner, the three of them walking home from a movie with Oliver between them, holding both their hands. It was the way he looked at her when he thought she wouldn't notice, not with desire or nostalgia, but with something deeper, more reverent. One evening, while Oliver was at a sleepover with his best friend, Sophie invited Ethan to dinner at her apartment. The domesticity of cooking together felt both strange and familiar, as if glimpsing an alternate timeline where they'd never separated. "I've been thinking," she said, chopping vegetables while he stirred the sauce, "about telling Oliver the truth." Ethan's hand stilled. "Are you sure? He deserves to know, and you've earned it." She set down her knife. "But I need to be certain you're staying, Ethan. Not just for now, not until something more important comes along. He can't lose you twice." "Sophie," he turned to face her, "I've restructured my entire company to be based in New York permanently. I've reduced my role to chairman, letting my COO handle daily operations." His eyes held hers steadily. "Nothing is more important than Oliver, than this chance." The unspoken question hung between them. Was there still a chance for them, too? Later, they sat on her small balcony, the lights of Brooklyn twinkling around them. A comfortable silence had descended, broken only when Ethan spoke softly. "Do you remember that weekend in the Hamptons, just before—" He trailed off. "I remember," she nodded. "Their last perfect weekend, before everything fell apart. You told me then that all you wanted was someone who would choose you every day." He turned to look at her, vulnerability raw on his face. "I've spent 5 years learning what that means." Sophie felt something shift inside her chest, a wall crumbling, a door opening. What does it mean? It means being brave enough to love without guarantees. It means knowing that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. He reached for her hand, tentative. "It means I love you, Sophie. Still. Always." Her heart raced, years of hurt battling against the undeniable truth that she'd never stopped loving him either, had only buried it beneath layers of protection. "I don't know if I can trust this. Trust us. Then we'll build that trust, day by day. No rush, no pressure, just possibility." The next morning, they took Oliver to the park, watching as he conquered the monkey bars with triumphant shouts. Standing side by side, their shoulders nearly touching, Sophie felt a sense of rightness she'd been missing for years. "Oliver," she called gently when he came running back, "we have something important to tell you." They sat on a bench, Oliver between them, as Sophie explained in simple terms that Ethan wasn't just a friend, he was Oliver's father, who had been away but wanted very much to be part of their family now. Oliver absorbed this with surprising calmness, looking from one to the other with thoughtful eyes, so like Ethan's. "I knew it," he declared finally. "Tommy said you look like my dad, and you know all my favorite things." Ethan's eyes glistened. Is that okay with you that I'm your dad?" Oliver considered this seriously. "Can I call you Dad instead of Mr. Parker?" "I would love that more than anything," Ethan answered, voice thick with emotion. "Cool," Oliver grinned. Then, with a child's ability to accept the extraordinary as perfectly normal, asked, "Can we get ice cream now?" As they walked toward the ice cream shop, Oliver skipping ahead, Ethan reached for Sophie's hand. This time, she didn't pull away.
2 weeks later, Sophie was closing the bakery when Ethan arrived, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "I have something to show you," he said, leading her to his car. They drove to a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood not far from her apartment. "What is this?" she asked as he guided her up the steps. "A possibility," he answered, unlocking the door. Inside, she found not the cold luxury she expected, but warmth. Open spaces filled with natural light, a kitchen that made her gasp, a backyard with room for a garden, and something else, signs of life already taking root. Oliver's artwork framed on walls, a bookshelf with her favorite novels, photographs of the three of them from the past months. "Ethan," she breathed, turning to him in wonder. "It's not a demand or an expectation, it's just hope. Room for all of us, if and when you're ready." Sophie moved through the rooms, touching surfaces, opening cabinets, imagining possibilities. On the refrigerator door, held by magnets, was a child's drawing, Oliver flanked by two taller figures, all three holding hands beneath a bright sun. When she turned back to Ethan, tears shimmered in her eyes. "You've really changed, haven't you?" He nodded, stepping closer. "I learned the hardest way possible what matters. Not achievements or acquisitions, but this. Choosing love, choosing family, choosing you. Every day." Sophie closed the distance between them, her hands framing his face. "Then I choose you too. Not the billionaire or the businessman, just you, Ethan. The father who makes our son laugh, the man who waited patiently for a second chance he didn't deserve." Their lips met in a kiss that felt both like coming home and setting out on a new journey. Tender, hopeful, certain. Later that summer, as evening descended on their new backyard, Sophie watched Ethan teaching Oliver to catch fireflies, their laughter mingling in the warm air. The path that had brought them here wasn't straight or easy, marked by heartbreak and mistake, by growth and forgiveness, but standing in the glow of their small, perfect family, Sophie knew some journeys, no matter how broken, led exactly where they were meant to.